Hello out there, and today we have another episode of Discontinued Rare and Odd Knives, and I say that as though I've done a bunch of these. I think I've only really done one, and it was about a year and a half or 2 years ago, and that was where I just, picked some of the things in my collection and stuff that I had that had been sent to me that was really odd or unusual or discontinued, hard to find, that sort of stuff, and I realized that I have a few more things today, so yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. And if you are looking for like old, really cool Spydercos, I don't think there's a single Spyderco in this video that's coming up, so I'll give you time to decide if you want to keep watching. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that's just always been interesting to me, finding some of the older models and the things that sort of last and stand the test of time and are still relevant, even though people might not know about them. So let's just get started with some of the discontinued. Let's start with some Kershaws. So here's a Kershaw, and this is a discontinued and odd one. This is the grooved zing. There was a model from Kershaw called the Groove, and it is really hard to come by and super expensive. And this knife is a R.J. Martin design, just like the Groove was, but it is a zing that has grooves in the actual grind. So take a look at that. It actually doesn't hinder cutting all that much. It is very hard to clean though, and rust spots do tend to crop up. This is a liner lock, USA made knife in 14C28N, and the scales look like G10, but it's actually a really good glass-filled nylon. So one of the better examples of like a plastic kind of scale, in my opinion. So yeah, this is a neat one and a little bit hard to come by these days. Not really, but it's just something that you don't come across because nobody's looking for them. If you wanted to find one, I'm sure you could, but no one really cares about it anymore, so it's an afterthought for a lot of people, but a very cool model to me. All right, next, let's get into another discontinued one, and here's a CRKT that is a personal favorite of mine because it's in Alan Oleshewicz, and this is another odd and unusual knife as well. This one is called the E-Lock. You might remember this from a counterfeit actually being on the channel a year or so ago. If you have been with me for that long, I was just surprised to know that this model is one that's been faked because it's been out of production for so long. But you take a look at it, it's just got an odd pocket clip. It's just got an odd look to it just in general. And then the locking mechanism, all it really is a bar, right? And when you hit the tab, it lets the lock disengage. Really similar to a button lock, it's just an untraditional kind of button lock. And the thing that's neat about it is it really, even though you can see the like Teflon washers, it swings down very nicely. Another odd thing about it is the pyramid style of thumb stud. Take a look at that. So that's how it opens, and a number of his CRKTs open that way, so it just gives it that Alan Oleshewicz kind of flair. But yeah, really unique kind of look to this knife, and one that I was very happy to actually get my hands on the real thing. All right, continuing forward, let's stay with Alan Oleshewicz, and this is one that you might be aware of. This is a discontinued Benchmade. This is the 885, and the little Dark Star, mini Dark Star version. The reason why this is a sort of a rare but sort of special knife in my collection is it's the lowest number that I have in any kind of run. So it's number 8 out of 1,000. My buddy Rodney, I think, got a number 5 recently. Rodney, if you're watching, congrats on that score, but 8's pretty darn low, so yeah, this is one of those models that is just a blast from the past, but a great design that I wish they would just bring it back into the present day with like a new variation, but I don't think that's really possible. But if you take a look, one of the very cool things about this, if you are a Benchmade guy, is the very old Benchmade USA clip. So I've got a few different Benchmade USA clips, some older ones, but not another one that's quite like this. So definitely a neat piece. Here's something that's unusual, and this was a gift from my buddy Noel. This is a Avenger Classic, but it was done for buck knives. So it had buck packaging, and see if I can get it open and show you. So yeah, maybe you can see this if we can get it focused. Yeah. So Avenger, which is pretty interesting, but it says buck on it. So it's a classic, just like all the others, where it has the same tools, nothing like fancy or different about it. Just the fact that it's co-branded with buck makes it a little bit unusual. So this is one that I don't carry, even though it does have this clip. It's just a special gift that I hold on to. So I probably haven't shown it on the channel at all. So that is a very neat little piece. Let's get into a few CRKTs. And let's start with slip joints. So I think I showed this on the channel recently, the Liang Ma number 5. And this is the second one of those that I had. Number 5 is a slip joint that I just thought was a beautiful design, very classy, has this nice polished, like kind of G10, well, yeah. So no like peel ply or any kind of traction, just a very classy looking knife, right? And this one got discontinued, and a more popular one came out called the Journeyer. And I had the Journeyer when it first came out, and it had something unique about it that was very appealing to me. And it came with, and you can see where it would have been on this model, like a little rod. It was basically an Allen wrench, or I think it was a Torx driver actually. So you could disassemble the knife, but you could actually stick it through this hole here, and that would become a stop pin. And it would make it sort of lock up, I guess. But therein lies the problem, is that it wasn't an effective lock, and it wasn't a real lock, and so there was a liability problem, I think, with CRKT, and so they stopped shipping it with that tool. And so you can and could, you know, put something in there that would serve as a, stop pin to make the knife more like a locking knife, but it didn't come like that. And so this one didn't come with one, which is pretty interesting. Personally, I never liked the Journeyer compared to the number 5. I thought I would, but I didn't. I think the number 5 was a better knife, but the Journeyer just is an interesting one in its own right, just for that story and for how it was done. A lot of jimping. All right, so there's those two. Here's one that I could actually use a little bit of help with. This is a very strange knife, and I need the box for this. So, look at that thing. That's not Monster Energy. That's Monster, which is I guess it's sort of like a Snap-on kind of company that's here in Florida where I live, I think. But what's interesting about it is, let's see if it says it on the actual box. Yeah, so let's take a look. So here's the box. It has all the specs on the bottom of the box, which is actually a pretty cool thing. It tells you your handle's aluminum, length, all that stuff, AUS-8 blade steel, bead blast, yada, yada, yada. Distributed by Monster Mobile and Lakeland, Florida. I don't think it says it on the box, but in the information, if you go onto the website, this is a Ken Onion design. At least it's advertised as a Ken Onion design. And I thought that all his designs were through CRKT. This is definitely, well, I won't say definitely, but it would be a huge surprise to me if this was a CRKT. The blade shape is beautiful. I mean, it is a great looking blade. The scale is horrific. I hate it. I hate it. I hate I don't even know what to say. I hate it. Very bare bones with the stainless steel frame lock. Nothing really special there. The action is poor. It's not great. So it's not like on IKBS or anything like that, and it's called the Mist Ratchet, Monster Ratchet, I think, something like that. I'm not sure exactly how you would say that or pronounce it, but yeah, it's one of those knives that I picked it up because of the design and for the curiosity of it, and it sure has a nice sounding engagement, huh? Lockup is really good. So there are plenty of worse knives out there, but as far as looks go, it's pretty terrible, and I wish something could be done with the scale, but so yeah, if you know anything about this or know of the collaboration, let me know in the comments down below. All right, guys? Appreciate it. All right, what else do we have? What else do we have? A couple other CRKTs. Here is the Wild Weasel. And I had the knife graveyard video where I talked about this knife and it was in pieces, and I put it back together, reassembled it. It is assisted opening, 154 cm, which is sort of a rarity for CRKT. Obviously, this is long discontinued. Here's something special about it. It really takes the dick clip to a new level, huh? I mean, for all the people who give Benchmade crap about theirs, take a look. Let's compare them. Oh man, so yeah, it's got that going for it. Different shapes, different sizes, but yeah, it's a pretty interesting design, and I like the assisted opening mechanism on this. Even though the way it works is like the blade doesn't sit all that deep in the handle just because of that torsion bar here. So, but it's very nice and snappy. The blade shape is unique with that recurve and a lot of belly at the front, but I do like it. Very comfortable in hand, and titanium. It's a good looking knife. The clip really doesn't bother me either, but yeah. But yeah, thanks to everybody who encouraged me to get this one going again when I posted it on that previous video, because it was really fun to put it back together and get it working. All right, a few more. Let's go back to Kershaw, actually, and talk about one of the coolest Kershaws of all time. This is the OD2, a Lee Williams design. And there is an OD1, which is much more sought after than this. This is like the smaller version in 8CR. I think the OD1 was a frame lock, and I think it was USA made 14C28. I might be wrong on that. But the thing that's really cool about this knife, one, just the overall design and the look of it, but two, the flipper disappears when you open the knife. So, I mean, that's a pretty cool thing. And Kershaw, honestly, I think Kershaw does some pretty good things with their imports. Not all the time. Some of their imports aren't very good, but they do some good stuff currently. But this is the kind of stuff from the past. I mean, we're talking about an import where they're just super innovative, and I always appreciated that, and I always wanted to get this knife in my collection, and I had one, but it was all jacked up, and then this one sort of came my way, and it's so cool. It's super sweet, guys. Just a really nice, and we're gonna bring a couple mini grips in next anyway, so let's just do that right now, just to show you the size, how small this knife is. So yeah, sort of surprised it has a clip. It's so small, kind of thing, but really neat little design there. The OD2 designed by Lee Williams. Now let's stay with mini grips. I have a few mini grips that I want to show you guys, the latest ones to enter the collection, and we'll go through all three of them because they're all sort of unusual and rare in their own rights. Arguably, the rarest knife that I have is right here. This is an N680 Minigrip Chilean. If you are aware, I got one a couple years ago thanks to my buddy Zach from Zach Stuff. He helped make it happen. The N680 was only ever available on the custom shop on Benchmade.com, and not very many people ever ordered it. So, yeah, it was pretty cool that he was able to help me get my first one. This one I actually found online, and I had never, ever seen one that was serrated. Never. And so I had to pick it up. Got a good price for it because no one really cares about N680. But yeah, it is a pretty unusual thing to have that steel on a Minigrip Chilean. So yeah, I was very excited to pick that one up. Another recent pickup is this original OG pre-production oval hole. One of the things I've learned in my research about Minigrip Chileans that makes this unique is that before it went to the hollow ground, the sheep's foot blade was flat ground like this. So for the first year or so, I think first couple of years that it was out. So that's another thing that makes this unique apart from the 440C steel and that oval hole. So the last one, I'm going to leave this one out on the table while we take a look at this. This is a Cabela's exclusive, and it's been modded. This knife is going to get its own video very soon. Not sure when I'm going to post it, but been working on doing some editing for that video. But the thing that is pretty cool and unique about this is the Cabela's exclusive in D2, which, I mean, this is very different from what that original knife looked like, but you can see the pattern differences right here. It's a sort of, I don't even know what that's called, like a webbing kind of thing. It looks like a fly swatter kind of pattern instead of the regular kind of texturing. So yeah, and I like it. I like the change of pace. Is it preferable? I don't know. It's just different, but if you ever see a mini grip with this kind of configuration, that means it was probably the Cabela's exclusive at some point. And on the full-size grip Chilean as well. So we have those. One more mini grip. Not going to let them steal the whole video, but I've talked about the mini grip with clear scales, but I've never shown like the entire piece. And so this is the entire piece of the mini grip Chilean with clear scales as it went to the dealers way back in the day. All right, so the one that I have now, the other one at least, I did blade swaps and this and that on it, but this is what the knife would have basically looked like just in a knife shop. And this is the best condition of clear scales that I've ever handled. So yeah, they're looking really good. Very few little cracks. And this one says safety blade, display purposes only. But this one has definitely been sharpened and has an edge on it. So, and actually, it's sharpened to a recurve too, if you see that, which is pretty cool. Let's bring, hold on. So, here's the actual Minigrip Chilean blade shape. And then, yeah, whoever had this knife and put an edge on it, they recurved the crap out of it, which is, yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, I want to play a drinking game. Take a shot every time I said cool in this video, and you will be hammered, I promise. A couple more CRKTs, and we will wrap up. This is another oldie, a big knife, easily the biggest knife of this video. And this is the M1814 Kit Carson design. Really like this manual action on this. And one of the things I say about serrations is that sometimes serrations can make a knife with a big belly just look very, very aesthetically pleasing. Just the curvature of it. How, you know, if it didn't have serrations, the edge would be down here, but when it curves up, it gives it just a little bit more bite. I do like that in this case. The handles here are aluminum with basically like skateboard tape in there. Looking good though, and it feels good. And this is a knife that, I mean, you can totally see someone in the armed forces using, and that's what a lot of these designs were for, was for, you know, military or law enforcement, that sort of thing. And yeah, it does have that aggressive tactical kind of feel. It does have locks, so this mechanism here, when you push it forward, you can see that piece coming down, keeps the liner lock from disengaging. And so it's like a safety in case the lock fails, which it shouldn't, but there you go. But flipping action is really good. Really like this classic CRKT. What's left? What's left? Here's just a curiosity. This is a knife. This is the CRKT Tie Tack 2. And I'm not 100% sure about this. I just heard it from my buddy Jacob, Harbor Master Up. But he told me that the reason why this says iTac 2 instead of Tie Tack 2 is that it's a first production, and that's what they do on his first productions. Odd. Didn't know that. If you know anything about that, definitely comment down below. That's the only thing I wanted to say about this knife, apart from the fact that the grind is crazy. Alright. One more CRKT, and I've talked about this one before, but if you've never seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. This is called the Edgy. It's called the Edgy because it sharpens itself. Inside the scales here, you have a mechanism that actually sharpens the blade. Yeah, it's odd, but it actually does sort of work. And so if you were in a situation where you needed to get a just a working edge on the knife, it could definitely do that for you. So yeah, that's a great looking design too. Yeah, I had the Edgy 2 as well, which was a lockback. I like the slip joint version more, so go figure. And two more and then we're finished. Here's a gift from my buddy Patty, and I've shown this on the channel once or twice before. It is a very unusual knife in that it looks like it wouldn't be anything worth talking about, just because it looks like a novelty. All right, that's what I mean by that. One, the design, even though it's definitely not my thing, the design of the dragon, yeah, looks pretty good. It's not my thing. But what I like about this knife is it sort of takes from some of the Boker, almost like credit card knife kind of designs, where it's just super slim and easy to carry. But it's thin in the blade too, so it cuts, and it cuts pretty darn well. And the lockup for a knife like this, you're not gonna believe it, the lockup is great. So this is one of those knives that he sent it to me, I think, as a curiosity for me just to like check out. And I mean, I keep it on my desk and just play with it, and I've opened letters and stuff with it, but I mean, this knife is just super sharp. And yeah, I don't know where you can find them or if you can find them, but plenty of worse knives out there. And if you see like this, you could put it on a keychain, and as long as you just keep that area clean, but like you can't cut yourself on this, so yeah. All right, and we are gonna finish with a knife that you might be familiar with. This is the Kershaw Random Task. It is old, it is discontinued. It isn't that rare, but it is the first speed safe opening knife. And what I like about it, and the big difference between this and the Speed Safe of today, is that the Speed Safe of today is just snappy. It's very snappy. And it feels like it's being opened for you in a lot of cases, right? Here, it feels like you're doing the work with just a little bit of assistance. And yeah, it feels good. I always like that about it. So I don't know if that just means that like the spring tension isn't as high or whatever, or if it's just improvements in the design that have made it work better over time, whatever. I sort of like the difference of this, and it's just an ultra classy, like nice polished G10 kind of design. It looks good, but if you look at the lines of this knife, it is also strange. You know, just the way that the knife handle is how it tapers, and then like the curvature down and where the ramp is, just how all of it works. I mean, the knife works fine, but yeah, I mean, the blade shape, very attractive, but then the way that everything else is curved going back is it's just unusual. But Random Task, that is the knife we're going to finish with. One really odd thing about this is that we're rolling with like T4 Torx screws here, and then like these I think are T3, if that even exists. I haven't been able to adjust these because I don't have a tool that can do it. So there's that. But yeah, guys, just wanted to share some odd and interesting and discontinued and a few rare kinds of things with you today. Let me know if you have anything in your collection that would fit this category. Let me know what you think about these things and if you think some of them should be brought back, all right? Appreciate you watching. Thanks, guys. Take care and have a good one.